When an avoidant secretly wants you back, it never looks like the storybooks you were told to believe in. There's no running through airports, no rain-soaked confessions, no trembling voice whispering, "Please don't leave me." No, what you get is something far quieter, far stranger. A performance so subtle that if you blink, you'll miss it. Because here's the truth. Avoidants don't return with grand gestures. They return in fragments, in careful accidents, in shadows of who they were, colliding with who they're terrified to become. Imagine this. Instead of a letter under your door, you notice a mistaken like on a photo from months ago. Instead of flowers at your window, they show up at the cafe they swore they hated, the exact one they know you love. Instead of calling you to say they miss you, they text about something meaningless, and then keep the conversation just alive enough to remind you that they're still there. This is the illusion versus the reality. Movies teach us to look for the chase. Reality asks us to look for the hesitation. Because when an avoidant begins to want you back, they don't rush forward, they orbit, they circle, they test the air before they breathe it in. And yet beneath that cold surface, there's a storm. They aren't indifferent. They aren't unbothered. In fact, the loss hits them harder than they will ever admit. But fear freezes them. Pride cages them. So instead of stepping toward you, they send signals, hoping you'll notice, while pretending they never meant for you to. That's how it begins. Not with declarations, but with whispers. Not with certainty, but with shadows. When an avoidant secretly wants you back, they don't arrive with confessions. They arrive with puzzles. Every move is coded, every gesture rehearsed, every word delivered with a built-in escape hatch. Their desire doesn't shout, it whispers, and only those who've loved them long enough can recognize the frequency. It looks like nothing at first, a late-night notification that vanishes before you can respond. A casual question asked through a mutual friend, disguised as small talk. A sudden reappearance in a space they once swore they had no interest in. To anyone else, these are accidents. To you, they are signals. Because avoidants have a superpower, plausible deniability. If you call them out, they retreat into armor. "Oh, I didn't mean it that way." But if you don't notice, they use that silence as proof it's safe to keep testing the waters. This is the secret script of an avoidant communication without vulnerability. Imagine a candle flickering in a dark room. They'll never hand you the flame outright, but they'll leave just enough glow for you to notice. A liked photo at midnight, a question about a book you once loved, a memory dropped into conversation as if it randomly surfaced. Each act is small enough to be dismissed, but heavy enough to make you wonder, was that really an accident? Here's the cruel irony. They feel the loss more intensely than they can ever admit. It claws at them in quiet hours, yet the thought of exposing it terrifies them. So they send out breadcrumbs, tiny careful clues, hoping you'll gather them without demanding the vulnerability they've spent a lifetime avoiding. Every gesture is a negotiation with fear. Every subtle appearance is a battle between pride and longing. And this is why their signals feel both magnetic and maddening. Because you're not imagining things, you're reading the language they never dare to speak. And if you listen closely, you'll realize the silence isn't empty, it's loaded. It's the sound of someone trying to find their way back to you without admitting they ever left. Re-entering your orbit. When an avoidant starts wanting you back, they don't announce it. They slip in like shadows. At first it feels like coincidence. You see them at the coffee shop you once loved, or at that mutual friend's party they never bothered with before. But coincidences don't repeat themselves, and this does. For someone who once swore they needed space like oxygen, their sudden closeness isn't accidental, it's a calculated risk. They want to be near you, but not too near. They want you to notice, but not call them out. To the world, it looks casual. To you, it feels like the universe pulling them back into your orbit. And then comes the digital haunting. A like on an old photo at 1:37 a.m., followed by a quick unlike. They pretend it never happened, but you saw it, and they know you saw it. That's their unspoken message. I'm still here. Are you still watching too? Testing through mutual friends' avoidance speaking codes, and their favorite translator is your mutual circle. They'll casually drop your name in conversation, like it's meaningless. Oh, how's Sarah doing these days? But underneath that disguise, they're hunting for intel. They don't ask, is Sarah seeing someone directly? That's too raw, too vulnerable. Instead they gather fragments: how you laugh now, whether you look lighter, whether your name still carries weight when you're not around. To your friends it's just small talk, but to them it's a mission piece by piece. They're rebuilding a map of your life, searching for gaps where they might still fit. Every update is secretly measured. If you're thriving, they're both proud and panicked. If you're dating someone new, it burns, but they'll never show it. They just tuck the information away like fuel, deciding whether to step closer or retreat again. Mixed signals in communication. And then, the most confusing part, their messages. It starts with something harmless. Hey, you left your charger at my place. But the conversation doesn't end. They linger. They ask about your mom's health, remind you of a joke only you two would get, or slip in a memory you thought they'd forgotten. For a moment, you feel warmth, familiarity, connection, and just when you lean in, gone. Silence. 3 days of nothing. Then suddenly, another practical text. Your mail came here again. To anyone else, it looks random, but you know better. These are not accidents. They're test runs. Controlled doses of intimacy, just enough to feel alive, but not enough to terrify them. Every text, every pause, every reappearance is a dance between fear and desire. They don't want to admit they miss you, so they create excuses that allow them to stay close without saying the words. Because when avoidants want you back, they don't confess it. They orbit, they test, they confuse, not with grand gestures, but with whispers in the dark, tiny signals that force you to wonder, am I imagining this, or are they really trying to come back? Fixing things they broke. Avoidants rarely say, I'm sorry, but watch closely, because their apologies arrive in disguise. That side project you once encouraged, suddenly, it's completed. That toxic habit you begged them to change, quietly, it's gone. It's not random. It's their way of whispering, I heard you. I remember what mattered to you. They'll never admit they're reshaping themselves for you, but every fixed detail, every improved version of them, is a silent script written for your eyes only. They're not begging you to come back. They're building a stage where you might want to, protecting the past. Avoidants are famous for cutting ties, erasing history, and pretending they were never attached. But when they secretly want you back, the opposite happens. The photos you thought they deleted, still there, tucked away. That shirt you bought, the one they claimed they never liked, worn again. When someone casually mocks you, they defend you in ways that surprise even themselves. Why? Because the past is no longer something to escape. It's their last lifeline to you. By guarding those memories, they're really guarding hope. Manufactured coincidences. This is where the mask gets clever. Their car just happens to break down near your street. They accidentally buy 2 tickets for a concert you once mentioned. They need your advice for something only you can solve. Don't be fooled. These are not coincidences. They're carefully designed invitations with a built-in excuse. They can say, oh, I didn't plan this. But deep down, every staged moment is their way of testing. Will you step closer if I leave the door slightly open? Showing indirect growth. And then comes the most delicate performance of all, proof of change, delivered in the shadows. A story shared about emotional healing, a casual mention of therapy, a social media post about consistency, maturity, or love, the exact things you once craved. It's not bragging, it's bait. They want you to know they're evolving, without ever confessing they're doing it for you. Because avoidants don't announce their love, they choreograph it. Every repair, every defended memory, every staged accident, every breadcrumb of growth, it's all part of the same silent performance. A performance designed for one audience only, you. Jealousy and performative presence. Avoidants are masters of pretending they don't care. But jealousy is the one thing they can't fully disguise. Watch them in a crowded room. Suddenly they're laughing louder, standing taller, making their presence impossible to ignore. Not for everyone, for you. And then it happens. Someone new enters your orbit, and their mask fractures. Their jaw tightens, their tone sharpens. They slip into a performance, acting indifferent, while every reaction betrays the storm inside. Because when they secretly want you back, indifference isn't real. It's theater, and jealousy is the crack that makes the act collapse. Rewriting history. At first they swore it was over. They said the breakup was final, inevitable. But listen closely now. The story is changing. Suddenly it wasn't about you being too much, or them being too cold. Now it was just bad timing, wrong circumstances, a misunderstanding that could have gone differently. Why this sudden rewrite? Because regret is bleeding through their script. They can't admit the truth head on, so they soften the narrative, hoping you'll see the hidden message. Maybe it wasn't meant to end. Breaking their own rules. Avoidants cling to rules. Never chase, never confess, never be vulnerable. But late at night, when the world is quiet, those rules collapse. A text at 2:17 a.m. You up. A half-drunk voicemail. Voice trembling with words they can't take back. A sudden rant about how much they don't care. Sounding exactly like someone who cares too much. Every slip is a fracture. Every crack is proof. The armor they've spent years polishing can no longer contain the truth. Interest in your future. And then comes the most revealing slip of all. They start asking questions. Not about the past, but about your future. Are you thinking of moving? Anyone new in your life? So, what's next for you? These aren't casual questions. They're scouting missions. Because deep down, one thought terrifies them. What if your future no longer has space for me? The cracks in the armor are where truth leaks out. Jealousy that can't be contained. Stories rewritten with regret. Rules shattered in the dark. Curiosity about futures they're scared to lose. An avoidant can build the tallest walls. But when they secretly want you back, those walls crumble, and for the first time you see the raw, unguarded heart they've been hiding all along. There's a truth about avoidance most people never hear. They often love you more once you're gone than they ever could when you were standing right in front of them. When you were near, your love felt like fire, warming, yes, but also threatening, too close, too consuming, too real. Their instinct was to retreat, to build walls, to create distance. But here's the paradox. It's only when that distance exists, when you finally step away, that they can feel the full weight of what they lost. Distance as safety. Avoidants crave distance the way a diver craves air. When you're near, they're drowning in intensity. When you're gone, suddenly, they breathe again. And only then, in the silence, in the empty spaces, do they let themselves miss you. They revisit old messages at 2 a.m. They replay inside jokes in their head like broken records. They scroll through your photos, searching for something they once had but couldn't hold. To them, distance doesn't kill love. It protects it, gives it room to surface, finally free of panic. Love that arrives late. Here's the cruel irony. Avoidant love is delayed love. It doesn't show up when you're there, when it could matter. It arrives afterward, like thunder after lightning. You give them warmth. They only feel it once the room turns cold. You offer them presence. They only crave it once it's gone. Your love was never absent. It was their fear that muted it. And by the time they hear the echo, It's often deafening. The core truth. So what does it mean when your avoidant ex secretly wants you back? It doesn't mean they suddenly discovered new feelings. It means they finally feel the old ones, feelings they buried under fear, now unleashed by the safety of distance. The tragedy is that many avoidants realize the depth of their love not in your presence, but in your absence. They loved you most when they could no longer touch you. And that is the hidden truth. Avoidants don't stop loving when you leave. They start. When avoidants reach back for you, it's never a movie scene, no grand speeches, no trembling. I was wrong. Instead, it's fragments, broken signals, pieces of a language only you can decode. They don't say I miss you, but every tiny action is a whisper of it. The echo of almost it's the meme at 2 a.m. that just happens to match your old inside joke. It's the accidental text that feels anything but accidental. It's them showing up at the cafe they swore they hated, scanning the room like they just happened to wander in, half measures, almost, shadows pretending to be light, every move wrapped in plausible deniability, yet dripping with intent, pride in one hand, longing in the other. Avoidants are terrified of rejection. Their pride is a fortress, but longing seeps through the cracks. So they compromise. They extend a fingertip, never the full hand. A like on your story, a random question through a friend, a comment on something trivial when you know what they're really trying to say. These aren't gestures of closure. They're smoke signals, flares in the dark. Deniable, yes, but unmistakable if you know their language. Shadows is shelter to them. Shadows are safer than light. Directness means exposure, vulnerability, risk, but hints allow them to hide while still reaching. They're praying you'll pick up the breadcrumbs, read between the lines, and understand, I want you back. I just can't let the words leave my mouth. The poetic truth. And this is the cruel beauty of avoidant love. It rarely arrives in full color. It arrives in fragments, not confessions, but whispers, not reunions, but traces, not I miss you, but every action bleeding the words they're too afraid to speak. So the closure is not neat. It's haunting, because when an avoidant wants you back, they won't stand in the spotlight and tell you. They'll stay in the shadows, hoping you'll hear the quietest echo in the room, the one that says everything their lips never will. If these words stirred something inside you, if the shadows we walked through tonight felt like pieces of your own story, don't leave it here, because healing doesn't happen in silence, and clarity only grows when it's shared. You've seen how avoidants speak without speaking, how their half measures whisper truths they're too afraid to admit. But what about you? Your silence matters too. Your voice, your story. And maybe tonight is the moment you finally let it out. So here's my quiet invitation. Tap like if you felt even one truth echo inside you. It's a way of telling yourself I hear this. I needed this. Subscribe, because this is just one chapter. There are more unspoken truths waiting, and you shouldn't have to face them alone. And share this video with someone who hides the same questions in their chest, because sometimes a single whisper can save someone's entire night. Avoidance may love in half measures, but you don't have to. So claim your clarity, spread it forward, and remember every action, no matter how small, carries a message. Maybe your like, your subscribe, your share is the very signal someone else has been waiting for.